As you have learned previously, many Americans hoped that Henry Clay's compromise would calm the issue of slavery, but boy were they wrong. New disputes revitalized the deepening crisis. The Compromise of 1850 was a series of bills passed by Congress. They were based off of Henry Clay's proposals and were designed to please the North and South. The sitting president, Zachary Taylor, opposed these laws, but he died in 1850. The new president, Millard Fillmore, was strongly in support of the laws.
To please the North, California was admitted as a free state, and slave trade was banned in Washington, D.C.
To please the South, popular sovereignty would be used to determine whether or not slavery would be allowed in the new Mexican secession territories.
Also, the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was adopted, giving special government officials the ability to pursue escaped slaves into free territories. This new act would become the most controversial part of the Compromise of 1850, inciting much outrage in the North.
John C. Calhoun hoped this would force Northerners to recognize Southerners' property rights, but instead it did the opposite in making them think that slavery was a cruel thing that should be abolished. Residents of cities bound together to resist the act.
Harriet Beecher Stowe was a Northerner deeply affected by the Fugitive Slave Act. She met many escaped slaves and were told the horrors of slavery. In 1852, she published Uncle Tom's Cabin, a bestseller in the North, outraging many Northerners about the horrors of slavery, and although it was dismissed as propaganda by white Southerners. In 1854, Congress passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, pushed by Senator Stephen Douglas, who wished to develop the lands in the northwest part of the U.S. He suggested to make the new territories of Kansas and Nebraska, allowing the people of the territories to decide whether to allow slavery or not. The law was passed, causing thousands of anti-slavery and pro-slavery people to flood into Kansas to illegally vote in the elections.
Only 3 of the 39 delegates ended up being anti-slavery. This enraged the North, and they demanded another election. Kansas now had 2 governments, and fighting quickly broke out. Supporters of both sides, the anti-slavery side and the pro-slavery side, roamed the countryside, harming those who did not support their views.
This period was called Bleeding Kansas.
The fighting in Kansas quickly spilled over into the Senate. Charles Sumner, a senator from Massachusetts, attacked the pro-slavery movements going on there. He also singled out Andrew Butler of South Carolina, an elderly senator. Although Andrew Butler was not there on the day of his speech, a few days later, his nephew, Preston Brooks, a congressman, went and stormed into the Senate building and attacked Charles Sumner with a cane.
Some Southerners thought this is what Sumner deserved. However, Northerners just saw this as another piece of evidence that slavery and the people who supported it were cruel. When the Whig Party split apart in 1854, a new party was created, the Republican Party. It attracted many Northerners as its main goal was to stop the spread of slavery into the Western territories.
The Republican Party was a very powerful force in the elections. In 1856, they ran their first candidate, John C. Fremont, an Army officer in the Mexican-American War. Chief Justice Roger B. Tanning made a decision that would split the North and South even more.
Tanning declared slaves property and also said that Congress did not have any power to prohibit slavery in any new territory. Therefore, the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional.
Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer from Illinois. After a brief career in politics, he embraced the Republican cause and went off debating about slavery against his many rivals. One of these rivalries was with Senator Stephen Douglas. It was a personal and political rivalry, as Stephen Douglas had courted Mary Todd, who eventually married Lincoln.
James Buchanan was elected. However, John C. Fremont did have success in the free states. When Douglas ran against Lincoln for senator, he called Lincoln a dangerous abolitionist, which Lincoln embraced.
John Brown, the same person who killed 5 pro-slavery men and boys in Kansas, attempted to lead a slave revolt in Harper's Ferry, Virginia. It was partially successful, but he ended up being wounded and captured.
Before his death sentence was executed, he made a stirring speech citing the Bible for his actions.
He was executed December 2nd, 1859.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
The free-to-play RPG is available on the Apple and Android App Store. It's the most ambitious app ever. Play it now and use my code to get 2,000 silver.